Every single test done on the track is fundamental to understanding the new 2026 tires, and in today's video we have to talk about the test done by Juan Yu at Ferrari. Let's look at the statements from Nico Rosberg and Domenicali about Ferrari, but not only that. We need to see why McLaren didn't perform so well in Canada. And finally, we also talk about Adrian Newey at Aston Martin, because he has started to move the first people and has made some important changes. If you enjoy the videos, please leave a like. Now let's begin immediately. As Formula 1 gears up for 2026, Ferrari is already strategizing for the future while others focus on the present. In fact, the sky was clear, but the track was artificially wet. And taking to the track is Wang Yuzhou, 26 years old, a Chinese driver and currently a reserve driver for Ferrari. But this is not a conventional test, it's a strategic shakedown for the development of the new Pirelli rain tires for 2026. Wang Yuzhou is driving a mule car, which is a Ferrari SF24 modified to simulate aerodynamics, and also the behavior of the single-seaters that will come with the new technical regulation. In practice, it's a disguised Formula 1 to test the future. But why let Joe drive and not a main driver? Simple. The work of a reserve driver today goes well beyond the simulator. These tests collect comparative data between slick, full, wet, and intermediate tires. In fact, before starting work on the wet, Joe did a stint with dry tires to have a precise reference. We're talking about temperatures over 30 deg C and a 3-kilometer track flooded with water from hydrants to replicate real rain conditions. A meticulous job, followed in real time by Pirelli and Ferrari engineers. Leclerc also tested the new 2026 tires at the Ferrari track. Hamilton will not participate in this test. The key question is, who will be the main character in the 2026 staging? The point of the tires? And these tests are part of during the year of the development of Pirelli tires for 2026. Yes, because by changing the cars, physically, in fact, they will become smaller and will also have a difference in the engine because it will be 50% electric motor and 50% thermal motor. The power delivery on the tires will also change. That's why Pirelli this year will do several tests with different teams to test the new tires for next year. Develop a casing that is both soft and durable at the same time. And another big doubt will be on the rain tires. That's why they are tested so importantly. But we also have to talk about Nico Rosberg's statements about Ferrari and what it should do for its future. During the program, the F1 show on Sky Sports, Rosberg revealed the behind the scenes that is shaking Maranello. Ferrari would be considering the creation of an operational base in England. Yes, an English Ferrari with a stable foothold in the heart of British Formula 1, and we've been talking about it for a long time, the possibility of a Ferrari that could return to England with an operational headquarters. And so not with the entire headquarters, let's say the general headquarters of Ferrari, a bit of a return to the 80s F1 style of Barnard, but in modern times. Why? To compete on equal terms with teams like Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren, which have hyper-integrated operational structures in the United Kingdom. Rosberg was clear, the level of excellence of Ferrari is not yet on par with the English teams. Being based in Italy complicates communication, logistics, and marketing. This is where it comes into play. Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, arrived in Maranello with high hopes, but the reality is very harsh. After 10 Grand Prix in 2025, Ferrari has 191 points from McLaren in the Constructors and Leclerc have 94 points less than Piastri. According to Rosberg, Hamilton's disappointment is evident and he's already struggling without a strong leader like Toto Wolff, an operational leader that Ferrari still doesn't have. As of today, only Ferrari and future Audi Sauber do not have a base in the United Kingdom. Why, for example, Racing Bull's ex-Alfa, Tauri ex-Toro Rosso? We know it has a base in Milton Keynes and a base in Faenza. All the other top teams work in the heart of the British Tech Lab with a continuous flow of personnel, data, and innovation. Rosberg points out that a base in the United Kingdom could help Ferrari close the gap. But there's a huge risk a dual Italy-United Kingdom headquarters could create internal friction. Who makes the decisions? Where is the car really developed? And most importantly, what happens to the Italian heart of the prancing horse? Ferrari is contemplating a complete overhaul, including a new headquarters in England to return to victory. But are you against or in favor of this decision? Is it right to bring part of the team to England to chase Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes? Or it would lose its identity? It's a topic we've discussed several times. And now Nico Rosberg has brought it up again, saying that it would be Ferrari's only chance to match the English teams. And if we think about it, it's the choice that Mercedes made many years ago to create an operational base in Brackley, England, to develop it into a single-seater. in addition to the operational headquarters in Germany. We know that there is also the motor department in Brixworth, Brackley, Brixworth, Milton Keynes, or even the same in Silverstone. They are all very close and they are all operational bases, both from the point of view of aerodynamic development, but also from the point of view of the motor development of the different English teams. And therefore, why should Ferrari only stay in Italy? Also, let's be clear, most engineers don't want to change their lifestyle by changing countries, and this is a crucial point. So a dual base in Italy and England, like at the moment, even Racing Bulls could help the Italian team. And we also heard the words of Domenicali encouraging the anthem "Leave Vasseur alone," but let's hear in detail what he said. Frédéric Vasseur commented after the Canadian Grand Prix that you can't win the World Championship with journalists like these. But today it's not the media responding, it's Stefano Domenicali himself. The number one of Formula One has decided to intervene to publicly defend the team principal of Ferrari. We know that Stefano Domenicali was also a former team principal of Ferrari, and he did it publicly with statements that split the paddock. Let's start with the facts. The Montreal Grand Prix ended with a disappointing result for the red 5th Leclerc, 6th Hamilton, and no wins in the season after 10 Grand Prix. But Vasseur didn't just blame his own. In the press conference, in front of the TVs, he attacked the media for the excessive pressure they would be creating around the stable. With this type of journalism, you don't win the World Championship. That's what he said. A direct attack, perhaps too much, and the atmosphere around Maranello is increasingly tense. And here comes Stefano Domenicali, President and Chief Executive Officer of Liberty Media for Formula One. He knows Ferrari well, serving as the team principal of the Prancing Horse from 2008 to 2014. Domenicali used L'Equipe to send a clear, powerful message that speaks volumes. Fred needs to use his time to work, not to fight what is being said. He needs to let himself be protected by those around him. He's doing a great job, I told him personally. I believe in him, and this is a very heavy endorsement. And above all, against the trend of the chatter that goes around Vasseur criticisms, doubts, even hypotheses of change at the top, Domenicali knows well that leading Ferrari is not like managing another team. Every gesture is dissected, every Grand Prix becomes a referendum. He clearly states that Ferrari is a beast and only insiders truly grasp the immense pressure it creates. And so, Vasseur, what should he do now? Should he continue on his path, as Domenicali suggests, or should he stop and reflect on the criticisms that are coming? Even from Ferrari's true fans who only wish to see the team return to the top, Domenicali's support sends a strong message, but it's uncertain if it will be sufficient to restore calm. Maranello, it's a very difficult situation to face within Ferrari. Why does Vasseur feel alienated within the Rossa? Despite media opposition, he maintains the team's internal support and Domenicali's backing. But the real problem, in my opinion, is the technical issue, and also a lack of leadership within Ferrari. And on this, Rosberg has leaned on Hamilton's situation. Hamilton is disoriented in Ferrari and Rosberg has a precise technical explanation. There's difficulty in communication, slow decision-making, lack of rapport with the team. Far from a rebirth, what was supposed to be the start of a new era is turning into a nightmare. In Maranello, after 10 races in 2025, Ferrari is still without victories, but there's more. Lewis Hamilton doesn't seem to fit into the team. Rosberg has tried to explain what's happening and his point is clear. Lewis is used to a lean, direct system, he says. In Mercedes, if there was a problem, he would talk to Toto and that's it. In Ferrari, it's all different. The former world champion, now a commentator, describes a Ferrari without a quick decision-making process, with an internal bureaucracy that hinders those trying to deliver results immediately. The most evident symptom of this disconnection is the relationship with Riccardo Adami, Hamilton's track engineer. The team's radio communications are mechanically awkward, due with the historic symbiosis with Peter Bonington, the legendary Bono of Mercedes. But how can a top-level driver adapt to all this? According to Rosberg, negative results are just a consequence and not the cause. Hamilton's main issue is his unease at Maranello. He believes the system there doesn't encourage risk-taking, an environment where mistakes are punished more than slowness, and a climate where internal pressure hinders development. The SF25 updates are taking a long time. Ferrari continues to work on the 677 project, but in a way that is too cautious for Lewis's taste. Rosberg said that in Mercedes, errors are targeted, not individuals, while in Ferrari there is a fear of making mistakes. It's really a completely different way of thinking, a cultural difference that may seem subtle, but in Formula One it makes the difference between winning and staying mid-table. It's crucial to note that Rosberg is not a Ferrari employee, and his statements are merely speculative. It's not certain that Hamilton is going through all of this, but one thing is undeniable: Lewis is not at peace at this moment. And a champion like him, if he doesn't feel heard, risks becoming an outsider within the team. In my opinion, Lewis's situation is very serious. He needs to feel more reassured by the team, and even if the results don't come, it's important to follow his direction, because he's a 7-time world champion and has experience, which is greatly needed within Ferrari, especially from a person who is used to winning, or at least has been in the past. So Nico Rosberg's statements are true from a certain point of view, in the sense that he says that Toto Wolff was a reference figure within Mercedes. For Lewis, Lewis does not currently have the same status at Ferrari. He lacks a point of support and a figure who can coordinate the whole team efficiently and above all quickly. Having said that, we also need to talk about McLaren and the issue of the front wing of the Technical Directive 018. McLaren is still the favorite for the rest of the season, but something has broken. In fact, the new Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile Directive on flexible wings, the infamous Technical Directive 018, has started to make its effects felt. During the Canada 2025 weekend, it was evident that the medial collateral ligament 39s had changed. But what were the significant differences? And why has Ferrari also come under scrutiny? It all starts in Barcelona. The Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile introduces stricter tests on the aeroelasticity of the front wings, and the Technical Directive 018 is born to eliminate the hidden advantages given by the controlled flexing of the wings. A system used by many top teams to improve the balance between curves, slow and straight lines. Ferrari and Red Bull accused McLaren, believing it was the most vulnerable team. Surprisingly, nothing changes in Spain as McLaren dominates, but trouble begins in Canada. Oscar Piazza and Dan Norris complain about oversteer, difficulty in cornering, and little confidence in the car, and technically, everything leads to one conclusion. The Technical Directive 018 has forced Walking to review the setup. And here, the story gets interesting because the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile surprisingly recalled the Ferrari's front wings to its garage half an hour before the Barcelona qualifiers. Why no official communication? But the very fact that they moved at the last minute indicates that something was not right with the dynamic behavior of the SF25. And what if the problem wasn't just McLaren? Previously, the flexible wings had an advantage. In slow corners, the stiffer wing generated more front load, grip, and rotation. On straights, the wing flexed, reducing drag and increasing top speed. A perfect balance, especially for McLaren. But now that this flexing has been limited, the teams have to choose a static configuration, and here lies the problem. If you choose more incidents to have grip in the curve, the car becomes unstable at high speed. If you choose less incidents for the straights, you lose traction in the driven sections. The Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal has revealed a new reality for McLaren as the compromise has shifted. Mercedes has found the square with a new rear suspension and a softer tire management, McLaren very strong but more difficult to drive. Piastri confessed the car performed well, but was tricky to set up properly. And in a tight championship like this, even half a tenth can mean losing 2 rows on the grid. In short, the Technical Directive 018 has changed everything. We've seen Ferrari under scrutiny, McLaren forced to chase for technical balance, and Mercedes has grown a lot. But we'll see if these values will also be confirmed in Austria for the next race. On paper, Montreal should have favored the medial collateral ligament 39 traction, braking and degradation could have benefited McLaren. Instead, from the free practice 1, we saw that the car was not in the right operating window in terms of setup. Certainly the low temperatures and the non-abrasive asphalt had an impact, and even the Pirelli C6 tire was difficult for McLaren to handle. Everything prevented the tires from reaching the right temperature window. In qualifying, we saw that Piazzi saved it with a 3rd position, but Norris came in 7th due to errors in the lap. Dry because the car was unstable. But in the race came the real alarm bell. Piazzi immediately lost the position on Antonelli and was not able to recover it. Norris made a comeback, but the pace was not as good as in the past races, and we also saw some internal friction with the contact between Norris and Piastri, resulting in the withdrawal of the English driver. In fact, analyzing the data, the McLaren only worked in the last
stint when
the car was lighter, with less fuel load. The degradation was under control. Yes, but there was a lack of initiative to attack, also due to a lower top speed compared to the opponents. So, be careful with this growing Mercedes, also thanks to the modified rear suspension. And a Verstappen who is getting back up front. Well, it's not certain that McLaren can win the Constructors and Drivers' World Championship, especially the Drivers' one, which is the most doubted by
Verstappen. But
we also need to talk about Aston Martin and the innovations it wants to bring. Since joining in March, Newey has been silently observing, analyzing, and making necessary cuts, as is his style. The first step is a comprehensive evaluation of human resources, infrastructure, and methods. Within 3 months, he grasped Aston Martin's strengths and weaknesses. The simulation is the weak point, which he admitted in the Monaco paddock. The simulator and data correlation system fall short of top teams, which is crucial in an era with limited track testing. If the virtual is wrong, the car is born wrong. Be cautious, as Adrian Newey brings not only experience, but also an extensive network of contacts, which has proven beneficial once more. Top engineers, Gilles Wood, former Red Bull simulation head until 2014, and Gio Aquino, Mercedes' leading aerodynamic expert until 2024, left their respective teams to follow him to Apple. Both accepted the offer from Aston Martin, just as they finished their gardening.
Live why?
Because working with Newey is a career-changing opportunity. For many, it's like joining Google or Apple in their golden days, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so this domino effect is created that benefits Aston Martin because it's a network of senior engineers who follow Adrian Newey to that team. Aston Martin has the foundation to thrive at Silverstone. They only lack technical leadership with vision, experience, and authority. And even though this 2025 has been fluctuating, we will see the real Aston Martin signed by Newey in 2026. But even now, the difference is noticeable. The MR25 has improved again. We see Alonso consistently in the top 10 and even sometimes in the top 5. And this shows us that Newey doesn't just design cars, he builds mentality, teams, and a winning culture. In fact, many are underestimating Aston Martin for the coming years. But consider the fact that there's a two-time world champion Alonso, an extremely talented driver. There's Newey who builds cars. Aston Martin has the technical capabilities thanks to Lawrence Stroll to compete for the World Championship alongside top teams for years to come. So Aston Martin has all the cards in order to fight for the World Championship from 2026 onwards. Let me know in the comments your opinion on all the topics we have covered in the video. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Check out other related videos too. From Rastaduto, see you next video.